understanding of what's going on with the tree of life. Now, earlier when I said that the two pillars are like the terminals of a battery, that's not exactly the case, but I wanted to give you that concept. The pillars are actually the lines that are connected to the terminals. They are the direction and the flow, the input and the output. The terminals that they connect to are actually Malkuth and Kether, the kingdom and the crown, the physical plane and the source, the densest vibrations and the highest vibrations, that which is farthest removed from the light and the light itself. The pillars are actually the direction and the flow. They travel in opposite directions and create a circuit. This circuit travels down and around and back up again, back to source. This circuit flows around the very center to Parith, the heart center, just like a generator. Now, back when I did the video on judgment and I had made that assignment to watch that video, you'll understand why the heart center plays such an important part. Now, this isn't a new concept. I'm sure everybody's heard of the circle of life, that everything has cycles, and that, the moon waxes and then it wanes. Same concept, slightly different perspective, okay? Because everything is a circuit as well. The business cycle, see, your finances are also a circuit. You have income and you have expenditures. There's an input and an output to everything. Our task is to regulate the input and the output. Most people's problems are a result of imbalances in the flow of the circuit. If you have too much coming in and not enough going out, you can create blockages in this circuit. If you have too much going out and not enough coming in, you can deplete yourself very quickly. See, if you try to store too much in your mind, try to keep your whole itinerary and schedule and everything you need to do just solely in your mind, you can create a mental blockage. And this is why it's best to write things down. Just keep track of your stuff, write them down. You can always pick them up and look at it later. But you don't have to store that in your mind.
Alright. This one came in, and it was just too good to wait to share. It made my day, and this is what I live for. So I wanted to put it in its own video and share it with everyone as soon as possible. Well, it's fresh. Shh. And just when I think that the testimonials can't top some of the ones we've had in the past, along comes probably the best one we've ever had. They keep getting better. But before that, I need to remind you that this is the last chance to get in on the laws of magic. After tomorrow, March 28, 2019, at 4 p.m. Central Time, when the next lesson goes out, it will be too late to get into the series. And even though I'm going to make every effort to make it available again in the future, I cannot guarantee that it will be. And if it is, it won't be for another 6 months to a year. So strike while the iron is hot. If you've ever been thinking about taking the laws of magic, now is the time. So with that out of the way, let's get into this testimonial. Hello, Frederick Xavier. Sorry for the length, but it's a good story. So I thought I'd share some positive feedback with you regarding a sigil you shared. I haven't really worked with sigils yet. I just purchased Manifesting Reality today. But when listening to your program, you reminded me that they work best when forgotten. Well, let me tell you. On one of your YouTube videos, you shared a sigil you've used for healing, and I took a screenshot of it for reference. Now, I've been manifesting my own reality my whole life, a knowledge I seem to have been born with, and I've gotten pretty good at it, especially when done through meditation and repetition, kind of like what Bob Proctor talks about. But while I do get results, they often take long periods of time. So I decided sigil magic may be a great tool to get a better result. Here's the bad turned good news. Found out in November my dear grandfather, who is otherwise active and healthy, was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. 3 inoperable tumors metastasized. In January, I took the screenshot of your sigil and decided I would take a few minutes and meditate on it, feeling the joy and gratitude of my grandfather being healed and healthy. I was truly overcome with emotion, tears and all, while focusing, meditating on the sigil. Then I let it go and totally forgot about it. All the steps that we've talked about on this channel. Focusing on your sigil or your candle or your water, whatever type of magic that you're doing, focusing and visualizing the outcome of your intention while cranking up the emotions, feeling that gratitude, and at the end letting it all go. Putting it out of your mind completely. Following the law of least expectance. And she did all this, so what happened? Well, jump forward to last week, I learned that when my grandfather went back for further testing, not only could they not find cancer in any other part of his body, but 2 of the 3 tumors are gone. Gone! The remaining tumor is 100% operable, and once removed, he will be completely cancer-free. Just this week, they did a procedure to expand his liver so it will be able to accommodate the loss of mass when they remove the tumor. Isn't that amazing? That shouldn't even be possible. Stage 4, turning what should have been a death sentence into a complete healing. But wait, there's more. Also, 2 days before he was originally supposed to have the liver expanding procedure, he had a heart attack, which required a stent. It ended up being a minor procedure done while he was awake, but had he not had it when he did, he would have likely died on the table while getting the liver procedure. That heart attack basically saved his life. The liver procedure done this week was very successful, and my family is looking forward to many years with my grandfather. I'm confident the sigil played a part in his healing. Absolutely. I felt it to be so at the time. I've known he would be fine and make it through this, and it is so. Thank you for all you do. Feel free to share this story, though I know it's long. Blessed be Axiomata. And thank you, Axiomata. Thank you for sharing this incredible testimonial and experience with us. This may be the best one we've ever had. They'll tell you that this shouldn't be possible. I would have loved to see the look on the doctor's face when he discovered that most of the cancer was gone. An absolutely incredible story. You did everything right and it paid off big. Not only did you go through the steps as mentioned before, but you also declared your unwavering faith at the end. 100% absolute certainty that your grandfather would be okay. You had no room for doubt. We've talked about the importance of having faith, and this has been an excellent reminder of it. For it is said that faith can move mountains. Your grandfather is fortunate to have you as his granddaughter, someone who now knows what to do. It's another case of magic making the seemingly impossible possible. And I've witnessed some pretty impossible things come to pass myself. It's when the miraculous happens that you will have absolutely no doubt that magic is real. Because most of the time when magic manifests, it happens in such a coincidental way that no matter how unlikely it may have been, there still may be some lingering doubt. That's not the case when you're performing miracles and healing stage 4 cancer. Now, I feel like I need to put up a disclaimer for those listening that your results may vary, because she has done everything right, including desperate for a result. She knew her grandfather would be healed and didn't linger on it. That is one of the toughest things at a time when people are desperate for a result. Remember, desperation magic is bad magic. So this is only a testimonial of what is possible when you do everything correctly. Also notice that her grandfather still went to the doctor. I wish I didn't have to say it, but magic is not a substitute for proper medical advice. Magic is an add-on option. You do it in addition to seeing your doctor. And this is a perfect example of that because he wasn't healed completely. There was still one tumor left that the doctor needed to deal with, but the magic allowed him to do so. So action supports the magic and magic supports the action. If it wasn't for the doctors and the procedure, he would still have it. Not to mention the stent for the heart attack. And this is why magic is an add-on to your health care. It's not a substitute for it. Okay? So yeah, this really made my day. I couldn't wait to share this testimonial with you because this is what I live for. We can now say that we're saving lives on this channel. Finally. We get to at least deduct one from our alleged kill count. It's often difficult to know exactly when you've saved someone with magic, but I think in this case, it's pretty obvious. I think that healing stage 4 cancer with nothing but a sigil would certainly qualify. And if you'd like to learn the ins and outs of sigil magic, the Manifesting Reality program, complete course in sigil magic, is still on sale, but not for much longer. You'll only save 20% through this Friday, so get it while the getting is good. Once again, I'd like to thank Axiomata for this incredible testimony, for what is probably the best testimonial that we've ever had. Thank you so much for sharing. I wish you and your grandfather all the best and blessings to you both. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time and joining me. And I'll see you next time. Take care.
Sorry about the dead air, everybody. The fucking computer is going really slow because I haven't been on in a while and I haven't done anything for the last couple of days on it, so it's really fucked up. My bad about the dead air. I'm going to try to fucking make sure it doesn't keep happening.
Alright, so it's time to take a peek inside the mailbag for April 2019. Hey Xavier, what's up? The sky, the clouds, space, the planets, the stars. Lots of things are up. You think you could do a video and breakdown of the planet Neptune? I want to know how I could utilize Neptune energy and use it to my advantage. So far in my life, it's done nothing but keep me far away from reality and deep into illusion and in the real world. That is not good. Thanks, man. Well, that's what Neptune does. Sounds like you already know about it. Neptune also has an association with addictions. So, I mean, it really doesn't need a breakdown. This is the breakdown. I covered Neptune in the 7 Planetary Powers program, but it wasn't much more than this. It's great that you want to keep grounded in reality, but Neptune isn't the planet for it. Neptune is good for artists. Because illusionary, it's not grounded in reality, so there's creativity with that. Okay? So it's not about how best to use Neptune to ground yourself into reality when Neptune isn't good for that. It's about using other energies to help balance that out. For example, the middle pillar ritual is a good practice to have if you want to keep yourself grounded. It's about working with other energies to ground out that Neptune energy. And thank you very much for the question. This video is also hilarious. Why, thank you. I think this was on the Not So Great Debate video. Yeah, I do throw in some humor here and there, and it is appreciated when it's noticed. So, thanks again. We also had more orange balls showing up. Orange balls, WTF. Hey brothers, see attached photo. But you already knew it works, LOL. Dude, I don't know where you came from, but you're saving my life, man. Missouri. I'm from Missouri. I never did the orange ball sigil, but I listened to those recordings many times, and it suddenly popped up on the trash can in the alley 3 days ago. Yeah, I mean, once it gets into your subconscious, it's going to manifest. And it's always so amusing to me when it manifests for the first time for people. They freak out, like you have superpowers, like this shouldn't be real. Just understand that all you need to do to manifest something is to put the instruction in your subconscious. There's just tricks on how to go about doing that. Sigil magic being just one of them. But you're welcome. I'm glad that I'm having such a positive impact on your life. And thank you for both listening and sharing. It is appreciated. Thank you. RSD Taylor, that's Tyler, says some interesting stuff, but he's such a pickup artist. Yes, he is. All you need to know about attracting a woman is approaching them and talk to them like a person rather than an object. Well, that's not all you need to know, but he does teach that. That's what separates him from other so-called pickup artists. PUAs have this stigma about them of like trying to trick somebody into sleeping with them or hooking up. That's not what he does. He teaches men how to be comfortable with themselves around attractive women. And of course I'm simplifying that here. There's much more to it than just that. But that is the premise in a very small nutshell. I don't know if you know this or not, but that's not always easy for men to do. There are many, many men who are uncomfortable around attractive women. And RSD teaches men how to be more confident in that regard. RSD just made me shudder. Yeah, he makes me shudder too. He is known to say some pretty cringy things with some very off-color metaphors. But see, I can look past all of that if the information underneath is sound and has value. And again, this goes back to polarization. Understand what it means to be polarized. Being polarized means you'll hear a couple cringy things and you'll be like, well, the rest of it's garbage too, and you just throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't want to listen to the rest of it. It's like flipping a light switch from on to off. He turned you off, mentally speaking, by dropping one too many F-bombs, but that doesn't mean that the ideas that he's trying to convey don't have merit, which leads into the next part. I have more respect for you than promoting him. Again, this goes back to polarity. I mean, are you really of the belief that everyone has the same teaching style? Because our teaching styles are quite different. I don't agree with anyone 100% completely, but if I think it's good enough to help raise people out of the pit of hell that they've been trapped in, then I'm going to recommend it. And 3, I didn't promote RSD Tyler for the PUA stuff anyway. I recommended him for his meditation and grounding content, being able to cultivate positive emotions from within without having to be reliant on the validation of others. There's a whole lot going on underneath the surface for those who care to take a look. Polarization gets you to look at just the surface and say, ooh, that's icky. I'm not going to touch that. Which is fine. You don't have to. You are actually allowed to listen and enjoy my content without having to listen to RSD Tyler. I mean, we are two different people doing two different things with two different perspectives. But polarization wants you to judge one by the other, like Dan.Use Dragonfly. Occasionally I'll get someone who asks, what happened to Dan.Use Dragonfly? Which was another channel that I promoted. Why isn't she a recommended channel anymore? What happened to the links? And the answer is she contacted me and didn't want to be associated with this channel anymore because I recommend RSD Tyler. Which is also fine. You can take it or leave it. But Polarization 101 is don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just understand that it's not an RSD Tyler issue. It's a polarization issue. There is much work to be done in the way of depolarization, especially if you want to be able to do more effective magic. The Hermetic principle of polarity is key to understanding everything. So bottom line, just because I linked RSD doesn't mean that I'm RSD. If I was RSD, I wouldn't have to link to him. I'd just tell you myself. I'm not even into the whole PUA thing. I recommend him for grounding and meditation, being present to the moment, skills that people need that they can apply to any area of life. He just happens to apply it to hook it up. And I do appreciate you sharing your scorn, so thank you. After watching your vid on duality in Star Wars, aim your sigil. Not in my yard, but in the neighbor's window, the children did this the next morning. Coincidence? It was glaringly obvious. Manifestation is always going to appear as a coincidence. Again, all the talk about Star Wars went into your subconscious, and it manifested with the neighbor's kids pointing their Darth Vader at you creepily out the window. This is why I tell people they need to be careful on social media. Watch what you're scrolling past. I recognized the patterns long ago before Facebook randomized the content that you would see on the feed so much. And things would happen, and I would go back and I would look to see what other people had posted and find that they aligned. I mean, just recently, this past retrograde, my computer crashed and I couldn't get into it anymore without having to reinstall Windows. I still had all my files, but I had to reinstall every app, program, font, bookmark, you get the idea. Well, right before all that, I remember some PC tech videos popping up in the recommended videos for some reason. So when you pay more attention, you'll notice things happen like that. You really got to be like a hockey goalie, deflecting the pucks of crap that are being flung at the goal of your subconscious. It's not always easy. Some things are going to get in there, and you just have to minimize the risk by staying away from it as much as you can. And I appreciate the message and picture. Thank you. With all due respect, it's prolonging a life. He's still going to die someday. I don't consider this life a blessing, but a burden. And this was in response to the testimonial of the grandfather who was healed of stage 4 cancer. Well, you're right. And you're wrong. Because, once again, it goes back to polarity. That's why it's so key to understanding everything. And yet it's so simple that it amazes me that people still don't get this. Because if you understood polarity, you would realize that life is both a blessing and a burden. Everyone has burdens, and yet everyone's blessed to be here against all astronomical odds. So it's both. But yet when you're in polarity, you only see it as one or the other, one or the other. It's either a blessing or a burden. It can't be both. But yet it is both. It's only your feelings that change. When things are down, you'll consider it a burden. When things are good, you'll feel blessed. Nothing's changed really except the way you're looking at it. And if you're looking at it as a blessing, then you're more than grateful to have your life prolonged. But if you're focusing on it as being a burden, well, I wouldn't want to be the person who saved your life. You'll probably just be mad about it. Why did you save me? Yeah, you don't want to be that guy, man. Come on. So it's both. You can't have the good without the bad and vice versa. That is the nature of polarity. And polarity is the foundation of this existence. Like it or not. And I do appreciate the comment, so thanks. Alright, we got time for one more. Hey, not expecting a response, but I just want to say thank you for the hard work you've put in. I appreciate all of the videos you've put out. Most videos I've watched twice for a better understanding. You have opened my mind in many ways and directed me towards other individuals, Bob Proctor for instance, which leads me to read books by Napoleon Hill, so on and so forth. I'm loving my path and I'm very grateful in general. I'm continuing to work on myself, and without you, I'm not sure this journey would have started. Much respect. And thank you. See, this is what it's all about. I mean, it's so wonderful to get a testimony of someone being healed of stage 4 cancer. But most people don't need a major miracle like that. Most people just need to be pointed in a certain direction. And then once they are, everything starts falling into place and completely changes their life for the better. So thank you for taking the time to share with me, and keep them coming. I may not be able to respond to each and every one of them, but I do read each and every one of them. Before I go, I'm going to share this photo that a cult fan sent in of the Rose Cross limited edition that he received in yellow, which I have to say it looks so good in yellow that I am planning on getting one myself just before I close them out, which will be probably not long after this video hits YouTube. So get them while you can. Follow me at Twitter at FraterXavier. Support the channel at Patreon and Subscribestar, where all supporters get early access to Mystery School videos before they're released elsewhere. I want to thank you all for sending in your questions, comments, and for listening. And I'll see you next time.
Once again, very sorry guys. Don't mean to have all this downtime in between. So play a song, but it should only be about 15 seconds or so. Just the computers have to do regular upkeep because it's an older laptop. I don't believe in upgrading unless you absolutely need something. Kind of like cars. They don't go up in value. Laptops don't go up in value. So, you should use your computer. You should use your car. You should use whatever you got until it fucking dies. And then if it's something that's okay to buy use till it dies,
Alright, and we're back. And the first thing I need to do is thank Asbjorn Torval for filling in for me. He really helped save me a lot of time when I really needed it. Now, I didn't know what he was going to talk about. I told him to just pick something and go with it because he knows the kind of things that we talk about on this channel. And so he did, and it was fantastic. So not only do I want to thank him for filling in for me, but also for doing a great job in doing so. I really appreciate it, and perhaps we'll see more of him in the future. But for today, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about how God doesn't care. So let's get into it. So right out of the gate, the title of this video will get it demonetized. It seems that YouTube wants you to be depolarized as well. They don't like polarized words in their titles or tags. I really don't think that they understand how polarization can be a really useful tool if you're an advertiser. But nevertheless, I care about it about as much as God does, because it's an accurate representation of as above, so below. And so I'm going to use it, knowing full well that YouTube isn't going to like it. And since we're on the subject, they don't like the word occult either for some reason. Magic is fine, but for some reason occult's bad. And go figure, it's very difficult to follow their logic at times. But getting back on topic, we were talking about God doesn't care. What do I mean by that? Well, I quite literally mean that God doesn't care. God, the universe, the divine, whatever name you wish to attribute to the force that is behind all of this, the reason we exist, creation, whatever name you want to give it doesn't seem to care much for the individual. If it did, it wouldn't have made us mortal. But it does seem to care about the survival of the species, because we were given this need and drive to procreate, to multiply, which over time has caused a lot of problems as we tried to solve the mortality issue. And we went over all of that in the Marvel Avengers Infinity War videos. And so the divine cares way less for the individual than it does for the group. It would stand to reason then that it also doesn't care what happens in your life or how the individual ends up. One person could have a picture-perfect life. Another person could get eaten by a shark. Another could die of cancer at a young age. God doesn't care. God isn't fair. Or is he? The divine doesn't care if you're rich. It doesn't care if you're poor. What matters is what you're putting off into the universe and what you're focusing on, because that's what the divine thinks you want. But even then it doesn't care. No, you're focusing on your health problems. I guess you want more health problems. Oh, you're dwelling on your lack of money? Well, I guess you want more lack of money.